Hi, welcome to day 82 of the Daily Spark Questions. This one says, how does naming an experience change it? How does naming an experience change it? Oh, what immediately comes to mind is like by naming it, it feels like I limit the possibilities of what it could be or evolve into. It's almost like collapsing the wave function of in the double slit experiment, quantum physics thing. It's like when I place too much restriction on it, then where's it? It can't change. It can't become some. I don't allow it to just be what it is or wants to be or how to change. I don't know if I have a specific example of it. Almost feels like naming it is an act of like making sense of an experience. So it's like, and it usually to me, I don't know if usually, like it definitely happens after the fact. Like if, especially if you're trying to recall the experience to yourself, like journaling or like with somebody, and you try to reflect back on an experience, you're like describing it. That's what I mean by naming, probably. It's like I'm describing it, which is like a whole bunch of smearing some language on an experience that is obviously not made of language. It's something more visceral and like it's not a solid thing, an experience. It's something I'm moving through, and there's so many things happening at the same time. So it depends on like to name it and describe it is like to have like to limit all that's going on to just what I'm able to perceive of it and the meaning I'm then applying onto it. It just feels like a down the rabbit hole or like a narrowing of something versus like, oh, what could it have been if I zoom out and come at it from this angle? So, God, I'm terrible at describing things. It's more like a feeling. So it changes it to me, and in the simplest terms, how does naming an experience change it? Totally limits it. It totally like locks it into how you described it. Not like the million other infinite number of other things that were going on in that experience that maybe weren't in our perception or that we just chose to eliminate from this particular story of the experience. And that goes with like, I think about relationship dynamics, friendship, relationship, anything, partnership, where it's like something happened that's worthy of a conversation. So I have a perspective of like, oh, this happened. And usually there's a reason for a conversation because whatever happened didn't match my expectations for what the way it should have gone. Right. And so it's like I'm trying to describe it based on my expectations and my preferences, which eliminates so many other things that were happening in that experience for two people. There's a whole other person involved. That really complicates things. I can't see through their eyes and all the things they're taking in about what's happening between us. It also, all kinds of things inform an experience. Like, how was their day leading up to this point? How was my day? How's my week? How did I sleep? What did I eat? Is my stomach sore? Like so many things that inform how we might like what energy is involved in the experience, and then also how we reflect on it. So by naming it, describing it feels like so limiting. We're like collapsing it down instead of like all the other things that were happening or that it could evolve into. It's like sometimes I think about um, through time, thinking back to past relationships, and over time, like the story in my mind about how that relationship went and how it ended. They're like milestones. And I think relationships just is an easy example. Could be anything. It could be jobs too. Like I think about that with jobs. Oh, that was that job. here's how it ended. That's all the meaning and story making I'm applying to it. Day in, day out, when I showed up at that job, do you know how many experiences I had over those months and years, So it's like, but for simplicity's sake, it feels like we tend to we have to simplify. I can't go relive like a whole year's worth of experience in a job every time I want to recall, or reflect on it. It's like so overwhelming. So I feel like our brain and our whole whatever meaning making machine, it involves other parts of us, our heart, our emotion body, I mean. So it's like how did I feel about it? Okay, let's pin down that feeling. It's like a bzz, file that away. That's how I felt about that job. Here are the details about, like, at a very high level, like what I was like. Here's how it ended. Like these milestone kind of markers about an experience. And so it's like, wow, through time, things are very limited just for efficiency's sake because we can't revisit every aspect to something. So I think about this moment and all these things that are happening in the now of the moment. Like there's so much to take in. I won't remember a damn thing. I won't remember these words the moment after I stop speaking them. And I don't even know if I'll have a milestone on this moment to reflect back on. They have to be like, for me, I feel like pretty significant, like, whoa, that was new, to like stick. And I think that's a neuroscience thing. Like something has to be pretty novel, something like way out of our norm. And since I do this like every day, this, I'm sorry, probably won't stick in my experience. It probably won't stick in yours either. But in the moment, we take and we kind of ingest in a moment what's important and move on. I don't know why that came up, but yeah, I should have just stopped a long time ago, because really, how does naming an experience change it? The only thing that's coming to me really right now, the most significant thing, is like it just limits it in a very big way. So what if we don't name experience? How do we how do we have a conversation about our experiences then if we don't name it and describe it and say what it meant to us? What are we even talking about then? Sometimes it feels like I feel like poetry does a really good job at that without limiting it. Because poetry tends to, like, with very efficient words, usually, unless it's like a really long poem, will help like get you into that moment in time where you're like in it and like, wow, all this sensory language is like helping live within that moment, and it feels more expansive a lot of the times with poetry. But also, poetry has a way of distilling down the essentials. It is such a beautiful art form because it's like a magic art form. So I don't know why I went there. I'm just gonna stop now. So let me know if what other things does it do for you or not for you to name an experience? Is there some usefulness to it? I mean, obviously, we developed language to describe things to each other. Like, hey, I experienced this thing. Come look, guys. Like, otherwise, how would we, like, that's how language evolved, is because I experienced something I want to share. Oh man, this is a fun stuff to think about. Where does it take you? Because I'm going to stop now. Bye.